One last video on the tamale shirt. Hey yo, day 3, MiME show. Money is made early in the morning. It's 7:42. We already did one at 6 in the morning, but we just kind of rambled and talked to random people about random things. But we do have some topics today. We'll try to knock them out pretty quick as you listen to the birds waking up with me here early in the morning. A little Michael Keaton action right here. Mikey, say hello. Pooh Man, nice chatting with you. So I got some topics yesterday from some people that they wanted to go over. Tenacity, how to react to not getting a job, not letting it put you down, how to handle rejection, how to be a pro, how to interact with coaches, and how to keep in shape. Boom, that's what we're going to hit today. We'll make it nice and quick for you. Also, maybe hit a little bit of the teams, since that's what we're going to use as our reference, our Kenosha Kings and our New Jersey Sox summer team, so you can understand how to deal with some of the rejection that these guys have dealt with and be able to come back and play and sign and get re-signed again and released again and signed again and just do it over and over until you can't do it anymore. But the Kenosha Kings is a team that plays in the Wisconsin State League in the Chicago area. The New Jersey Sox is a team that plays in the Met League and other leagues in the New Jersey area. We also do a tournament in Albany, New York, and fill some teams up there. The Albany Athletics, we had some guys play for this summer to stay ready for pro ball. And then you have our, obviously, so everybody understands, a lot of rookies don't really know the difference, but those teams that we have, those New Jersey Sox and those Kenosha Kings teams, are amateur teams that we're using to sign professional players. So we're basically taking a men's league and signing guys so that guys don't have to go to a college summer league or some random obscure league in the middle of nowhere that no one's ever going to get out of. Instead of that, we just bring guys to our teams in the summer, and it's easy to promote them to teams in the Chicago and New York area, teams that are on their way to Canada, and really teams all over the country because of the reputation that we've built. But these topics, if you're following on YouTube, subscribe, like, follow, comment, whatever. Instagram, go ahead, blow it up, share it with all your bums. Well, guys want to talk about tenacity and how to react when not getting a job and not let it put you down. I think one of the biggest things I've been saying is get off the Black Mirror, get off the phones. The phones are killing you. And the reason the phones are killing you is because everything you see is like what you think is supposed to happen. I'm a worst case scenario type of guy. I think that's why I've been able to survive this long and get this far, is because I'm thinking worst case scenario for the player, for myself, for everything, for the world. And then I'm able to handle adversity way better when it doesn't work out. I'm planning for it not to work out, which means I have to have a plan. I have to have a plan going forward, so when it doesn't work out, I know where I'm going to go. I know what I'm going to do. And that's why these summer teams are so crucial, because the only players that we let go back to these summer teams once we've started are players that have been released from professional baseball. So we start with a 40-man roster. I love that. The dogs just stopped fighting to listen to the music from the car. But we start with a 40-man roster and then only add players as guys get released. So we won't just randomly add a position unless we need a catcher or need something along the way. So that right there, I think, being a player and knowing that I could get released, or knowing that if I do get signed and then get released, I can go back to somewhere that's going to allow me to get at-bats and be around professionals, that's what I need. I think having that fallback plan is a big part of it. I listened to Howie Rodriguez's interview with the Gary South Shore Railcats last summer when he was signed in the American Association, and he signed from Kenosha. Howie Rodriguez is a California Winter League guy, didn't cut it there. I mean, got signed to TR as a courtesy. You're going to spring training, and I told him, call me, when we're in Quebec, and he came right in my office when we were in Quebec, and he was released, and he joined us on the road, and I made him prove it. I made him earn being a professional baseball player, because I really didn't think that he was one, and he really didn't become one until the following year. But that year he went, did some things on the tour, went to Kenosha, finished the season there, won a championship with the Kenosha guys, and proved himself into being a professional player. I don't think he really realized the support system he had until he left the CWO, got signed, got released, came to us. He didn't realize that people were there for him until that happened. So I think you guys knowing that there's a path, a route, and you can go play with us or whatever your plan's going to be, having that plan, I think, is how you deal with the adversity of not getting a job. I mean, I never played to get a job. So that's the issue, I think, with a lot of players that join this Black Sox program, is like, you're playing for a guy that's goal was not to get a job in anything, and I just saw, the indie ball news, you're going to see all the indie ball news, and there's a guy who's so happy to get a job I don't know if you look at my picture last year when I'm with Tri-City, I'm not very happy to get that job. It was because the third base coach didn't come, his visa didn't go, and, you know, I offered the same guy that recently hired this other guy that he could have the best third base coach, most motivated individual out there to score runs, and he don't want him. So, like, I don't put effort into trying to get jobs because it's really not in your control as a player, as a coach, whatever. The situation's got to be right. And honestly, like, some of these guys, you guys that would take, whether it's coaching or playing jobs anywhere, any opportunity, you know, that's the problem. I wouldn't take any opportunity. I had a list this year of about 5 places I would have went. And, you know, even the place I was in last year wasn't in those top 5. And once those places aren't going to work out or don't seem reasonable for the rest of my life, I don't need to go. Same as a player. I tell guys, make a list of top 5, top 10. To them, it doesn't matter. They'll put the worst teams in America, the worst teams in the league, the worst teams they could ever think of on their situations because they think that anything is an opportunity. And it's not. Anything is not an opportunity. Had I taken any old opportunity along the way, I would not be here right now. You know, did I go to the Pecos League? Yes. But did I bring my own car and get out of there in 1 month? Yes. Was I a, player, mover, and shaker back then? Yes. Do I deal with them anymore? No. Which leads me to my next part of how to be a pro. It's how to deal with rejection and then how to deal with be a pro. I think they go hand in hand. A lot of things people don't know about me. Guys don't know much about me. I mentioned in some of the previous MiME videos, breaking down, the Canadian visa guys situation, and then yesterday breaking down some other things. I mentioned some of my own situations where, I haven't drank in 3 years. 3 years. Over 3 years I haven't had a drink, and there was definitely adversity after that, during that, before that, what I was dealing with. And, before, the way I was dealing with the adversity, the way I was dealing with the rejection was drinking. Probably doing things that are not good for me. So finding a constructive path when things don't work out, I think, is clutch. A lot of times when it doesn't work out for guys, they go to a tryout, they come home, or they go to a season, they come home, or whatever it is. It's bender time. It's time to just gain 10 pounds and just go on a bender and lie to everybody and tell them you played this glorious professional baseball season that was really miserable, and lie about how good you are. And then, and you're on a bender, and that's like a negative way to deal with rejection. You're really just going to your vices. You're going to your things that are not going to help you. They're not going to get you to the next thing. They're not going to get you better. So, that's how not to deal with it. But you got to surround yourself with people that are going through the same thing, that are positive people, and that's what the Black Sox, I think, like I mentioned in that Howie Rodriguez situation and a lot of other ones, we provide that. How many guys went back and forth from the Yinzer, got released, came back, signed the next day for a week, came back, signed the next time for a month, came back. It happens all the time. It happened more often back then than now. Now guys are like barely getting rejected, and it's like traumatic. You're breaking up with a girl you were with for like a month, and you're like on suicide watch. I mean, it can't happen. And I think it's the energy of what you guys are inviting into your lives and bringing around you. And I think that's it's a big reason that things are going to happen for you or not going to happen for you. But back to the rejection, tenacity. Expecting to fail shouldn't kill you, limit you, totally destroy you. Expecting to fail should push you to your highest velos, to your best results, to your fastest times, to your best tryouts. I think that's the biggest thing that guys don't know how to do, is grow from each swing, pitch, take, game, drive home, drive to the field, drive home from the game, everything. Guys are not getting enough out of that because there's so much right after the game. What do? Boom, you go to that. And you're not in your own world, you're in another world. And so for a lot of my guys that are watching this year, the schedule is going to be so easy and not change that you don't need your phone. And I'm going to make sure that you don't have it, because I can't do it. Because what it really is leading to is when guys are getting rejected, which is the question here, how to deal with rejection, how to deal with when you don't get a job or get released or whatever. The reason guys are handling it the way they're handling it is so dramatic, so drastic, and they're done, is because A, the way that they were raised to make money is not sustainable. So if you don't really have any money and you can't act on your plan, you're not going to be able to get out of a jam, where the jam is not getting a job. So then once you can't support yourself, once you can't do anything, you got to go back to why are you in that situation? Why is it like that? And I believe it's like that because And let's go to the last question I got. How do you stay in shape? Because getting a job delivering food on your phone, getting a job, anything that involves technology, anything that involves not physical manual labor, is not making you stronger physically. It's not making you stronger physically. It's not making you stronger mentally. So you get stronger mentally by testing yourself physically. You can do more physically when you're tested mentally and emotionally and you're fighting those things, but you still have to work to perform. That's when your body grows and your mind grows and everything gets strong together. So, one of the biggest things I think about dealing with this rejection, we talk about how to deal with it and all that, and it's, you can't go to all your vices and that, but then it becomes really like, why am I in this situation? Why don't I have any money? Like, what kind of work do I do? I always notice that the guys who have enough money to do what they want to do some sort of real work where they're making $250, $300, $500 a day, not day trading, not on social media, not doing some, obscure delivery job. So testing yourself physically is going to come with getting a physically demanding job. Training kids, doing lessons is not a physically demanding job. Working out with the kids, working out with your high school team, working out with your college team is a weak approach to becoming a professional. One of the questions in here is how to become a pro. So how to deal with the rejection, how to keep your body in shape, how to become a pro. It all kind of goes hand in hand. If you surround yourself with high school kids and you practice with college kids, what level are you training at? If you train yourself at Crunch Fitness or 24-Hour Fitness or Planet Fitness or any fitness, and you're not paying someone to train you, you're not treating yourself like a pro. If you're not getting hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars of therapy and massage and dry needling and stim and all sorts of workouts on your body, then you're probably not going to make it that far as a pro, or you're an absolute physical specimen, which if you are a physical specimen, you're probably spending money on your body. So it all goes hand in hand, and to surround yourself with higher level people. For example, when I was young, playing in all these men's leagues and training myself, I trained myself probably for my first 10 years, eventually meet up with the Long Island or the New York Islanders and some of the New York Giants guys and all these dudes in the Northeast that were training together, New England Patriots guys, and we start running and training and working with all these guys, and I realize how slow I really am, and I'm just quick, and realize how weak I really am. I'm not as strong as them at all. And really in paying for that training and learning that training and doing that higher level stuff is where I really realized I need to invest more in my body. And I think that's why I got more out of the last 10 years of my career than I did the first 10 years of my career, because I actually invested and I actually paid people to train. Shit, I paid PJ to hit, I had to. And, I paid other people to train me and do things, and I really had to at that point. And you guys, I think one of the things growing up now, there's all these facilities, there's all these kids programs, there's too many little kids teams to coach for $2,000 a month or whatever, and you fall into that trap of being at a facility. And there's a guy on my Instagram here saying, I train with pros in the morning and work in the afternoon. Yeah, but likely can't really afford to do what you need to do, otherwise you would be doing it. And so stop training. That's one of the things I realized too, is all these guys are doing all this training for what? If you don't have the money to do what you want to do, then you're just going to forever be playing in Florida leagues. And you know how I know? Because there's hundreds of guys forever playing in Florida leagues and Jersey leagues who just make enough money to do what they do. The guys that think that they're trying to play, the problem becomes in Florida, and this is the biggest problem that I see in South Florida and other places too, and you see it now with the live at-bats against the pro guys, is like this guy said, well, I train with pros in the morning. Right. And everybody thinks that they hit with this AAA guy and throw with this guy and do this or that or whatever, and it makes them that. You know what I mean? But if I go back in the DMs, the text messages, and the whatever with this guy, I bet it's 5 months, training with pros and not driving 2 hours to do what he really needs to do. And the hard reality of that is like, I'm telling you exactly how this is going to go. And I'm telling you from experience. And that, okay, let's go back to how to deal with not getting a job, how to be a pro, how to deal with coaches is one of these things. One of these things is people are not really looking at who they're dealing with before they're dealing with them. They're treating everybody as the same. And, you can't bullshit the same person that, doesn't deal with bullshit, doesn't take bullshit. And so I think to understand if you're a person that gets bullshitted is important too, because you may be bullshitting yourself in this entire process. And if that is happening, then you're going to deal with rejection worse. You're going to not be as tenacious when it comes to getting the next job. You're not nearly going to be able to become a professional because you're full of shit. And you're not going to be able to keep yourself in honest shape doing what you really need to be doing, because what are you doing? And so the real season is not, bullpens indoors 3 times a week. It's not live once a week. It's not playing in your backyard. It's actually getting out and getting after it and doing it. And so guys tell me all the time that they're doing it. And then what do you think happens when we bring these guys who are doing their own thing into our program, where guys are doing it for hundreds of days straight, some of them thousands of days straight? What do you think happens when they get put up against those guys? They might be okay the first time they come out, they get some outs, or they run around with them and they steal some bases, they score some runs. But as time goes on, those are the guys that are going to break down first. There are not a lot of guys in that kind of shape to really then, when it's supposed to look easy and they're supposed to make it look easy, can actually do it. It's actually extremely hard. So, waking up, working out with guys, great. Getting your training in and whatever, great. But again, is this a signed player or a free agent player? So for me, I think that if you're a free agent player and you didn't sign the place you wanted, so maybe you signed in the Frontier League for 5 minutes, or you signed in the AA for 3 games, you're not you didn't just have a professional season. You need to have now an off season where you get that much better. So when you go into your next season, you can go get the 100 games in the pro league that you want, if that's what you want. And what you ultimately might find out is that that's not what you want. You actually might find out that you don't really want that, because that's what I found out time and time again, honestly, was that when you get there, you think there's this glory, and there's really not, unless it's what you really want to do. And for me, So, the person that you are, all right, and the person you're developing now in your 20s, in your early mid-20s, and then maybe even earlier, some of you younger guys, you high school, middle school, whatever guys that are watching, you're really developing your brain even as you get older. The minute you start smoking weed and drinking and all that, you kind of limit yourself at whatever age you start that. But the black mirror lasts forever, baby. And I've seen it ruin older people. I've seen people in their 40s get just so submerged in it and use it as a vice, and really lose so much time and energy in it. And that's why I really advise getting out of the black mirror, so that we can deal with this rejection, so that we can deal with how to be a pro. Because what you see on there is not really how to be a pro. You need to be feeling it. How to keep yourself in shape. Yeah, what you see on there, you think that this and that and all that is good, but what about, getting with some people that have really been doing it, the 150 games. And, it's not just about keeping in shape. It's about keeping in shape for the rides, keeping in shape for the travel, keeping in shape for the beating you're going to take when you got to be on the field for 12, 15 hours a day, because you're trying to get a job. So if you're not training to be on the field for 15 hours a day, then how are you going to do it at a tryout when you got to wake up early, stand there all day, thumb your butt, take 6 swings, wait 6 hours, come back, field ground balls? It's going to be hard for you. And it was easy for me. Tryouts were easy for me. I just was bad at them. In all honesty, I was good at games, bad at tryouts, but the day was no problem. I could wait around all day. I'd been playing 5 games a day on Saturday and Sunday for 10 years anyway. It was not an issue for me. So that's where I think for guys to test themselves mentally and physically, that's really what needs to start happening. Now, how do you do that? How do you train yourself? And I think waking up and working out early, like our guy on here mentioned that he does, and waking up and making money early and using your hands and using your body and getting done early. I went to bed the other night at 7 or 7:15 one night. It was phenomenal. Getting the rest, learning how to build yourself up, killing yourself and always grinding and always hustling and being tired and always being sore and constantly rolling out, constantly having to use the little, that's not going to build you up to what you need to be. And if you're, watching if the black mirror is up your ass and you're seeing all these things and you're doing all of them wrong and you're doing all the wrong things, then what really is the problem? Maybe you just need to be brainwashed. Maybe you just need to be, commit yourself to a cult that tells you what to do, because That really is what this is. This is someone telling you exactly to the T, exactly what you need to do. I tell you, go train with this trainer. Nobody does it. I say, go hit with this guy. Nobody does it. I say, everybody go eat this. Nobody does it. I say, no energy drinks. You bring the energy drinks. So why is there no respect for me or anything I say or my staff or my rules or anything? Because all people constantly see is that disrespect is okay. They see presidential candidates shitting on each other. They see husband and wife shitting on each other. They see conflict, and then they see all this false gratification and justification of guys saying, hey, great job, you posted the shittiest video ever, and your swing looks like shit, and you're dressed like shit, and you're the opposite of professional, and it says road to the fucking big leagues on there. I mean, that's really the problem, is that it's become so delusional, and that's why I call this directional thing delusional, because it is delusional. You know, it really, the whole thing is delusional, fellas. It's delusional to say you're going to the big leagues if you're sitting here watching this Instagram video right now, because not one big leaguer has ever been like, yo, I started watching Joe Torre's shit and it just set me off and I went to the big leagues. So, you know, they're already ahead of you, ahead of you, miles ahead, brain in another element, in another region, in another capacity there. So how do you think they dealt with rejection? How do you think they dealt with being a pro? How do you think they dealt with keeping their bodies in shape? Do you think it was all the most minimal things and then making complaints and excuses for all of those other things, the reason that you're not there? There's no way. And so, you know, this comes from a guy that, you know, and this is one thing about me, I think that I think separated me from anybody else, even that I see now playing. I always played first. So if I had to play 25 games and not work at all that week, I did it. And then the next week, I would, work all week when it rained and double, triple my money because I knew I needed to. And it's like the playing had to come first. I didn't eat anything. The reason I couldn't pay to train, the reason I couldn't pay to live or anything was because I didn't have anything, because the games really came first, because I needed the game experience. I needed to be the best player on the field, the MVP, the all-star, the three-hitter, the whatever. And I was not in the beginning. And I think how to be a pro, one of the biggest ways to be a pro is stop trying to be the best player on the field. You know, like when I went to leagues and played in places where I was not the best player on the field, and I was the worst player in the field usually, and I had to work my way into that lineup and I had to earn my spot on that team, that's when I developed into becoming a professional. And I could play 100 games as a leadoff guy, and then I could play 100 games as the 10 guy, 100 games as the 3-hitter, 100 games at third base, 100 games at shortstop, and in all these different seasons, all these different years, and have the feel. I had to learn to have the feel to go to different teams and be like, okay, this team is this situation. They're a fun-loving bunch of guys. This team is a bunch of fighters. This team is going to smoke blunts and start a brawl in left field in about the 4th inning. This team is, you know, I don't want to play in this team anymore. I got to get out of here. But not really. Most of the teams I went to were good guys and made the playoffs, and we went to a lot of championships, and we competed at a very high level because I wanted to put myself in that situation. It was more important for me to put myself in a situation to learn how to win and be a champion than it was to sign. It just wasn't going to get it done for me. So that's why I see all these individuals, and I see all these dudes doing all this individual posting, even their own motivational quotes and their own, like, you know, go get him, dog, like it's you against the world type shit. And it's like, that's why you are where you are. I'm sorry. You know, I didn't invent the Black Sox. The Black Sox took me along the way. So it's who you surround yourself with, those top people. That's why I love my coaching staff, and my guys that I have around me are all, I think, way better than me, and I learn from them all the time. Keeping in shape. I mean, so many of those things that I mentioned as far as the work ethic, the type of job you're doing, the type of intensity that you're going to do on a day-to-day basis, how much sitting around and screen time you're really going to have. Like, it's going to make you slower. Like, honestly, I watched a lot of the highlights from our Saguaro Mariners video, and there was a lot of good stuff and a lot of great swings and boom and great at-bats and everything. But if you really look, as the games go on, the swings get slower and slower and slower and slower, and it's hard to replicate and duplicate what you're doing because you're fucking tired. You know, you're tired, you're gassed, physically, mentally, whatever. And you had to know that it was going to be tough, that it was going to be really hard to come down and play those 6 games in the heat. And so, you know, yeah, there's a reason that I have, whatever it was I had in my bag that I was offering to guys that I know for sure will take the inflammation and the pain away and make the ball glow. I know. Is it good for you? I don't know. Is it going to help me produce the way I need to produce if I was playing in front of someone that I needed to get signed? and I needed to win and I needed to be the MVP, I would have taken it. That's me. That's what I had to do. And I did a lot of things like that, supplement-wise and everything to lock in and do what I needed to do, especially back in the day. I was in a lot of pain playing and I had a lot of problems. That's probably why, I was going to some of the vices and dealing with some of that stuff. And I think the biggest question about the rejection, like how to deal with rejection, I think is not even in the baseball sense. Because like I say to guys all the time, I don't think baseball is the problem. I think the problem is you can't deal with any sort of rejection at all, my situation, my story, I talk about, I've been kind of developing and enveloping more to you guys as we go. But, this summer I had a pretty up and down spring, and I knew it was going to be shitty. And, there was a moment in a game in Sussex, and I remember we had a rain delay, and I looked out at the sun. I was sitting there in Sussex. Some of the guys might know exactly where we were at. And I just felt it, like my cousin just died. I was like, I knew he was dying, and I just felt like he died during this rain delay right here. That's the sky right there for him, boom. And, of course, he did right then. Found out after, and then that next weekend I had to go to the funeral. I left in the morning from Albany, New York. I drove to Jersey. I went for as long as I could to the ceremony, and then I went back and coached third base that night, I think, against the New Jersey Jackals. The night he died in Sussex, I didn't leave the field or cry about it or anything. I coached the rest of the game at third and waited through the forever rain delay. And that's the difference between me and most people and everybody else. And I'm not trying to say you need to be this stone cold, cold-hearted bastard. But, there were guys like, hey, my grandmom died. I got to go back to wherever. And I was like, you just came from there. You just saw her. And I get it, but I mean, your team's about to go on a playoff run, and you're a rookie, and you obviously are not in this for the same reasons I was in it, and that's fine. That's okay. People are different, People are gonna die, and people are gonna handle it different. But I just know that I didn't get here by leaving and going home to the people when they died. I know it. It's happened to me time and time again. I remember when my Uncle Gary died in the Ginzer. It was right before a game. I was actually having a beer up in the Washington picnic area up there, and I got a call, hey, Gary died, blah, blah, blah. And anybody else, maybe they don't go to the game or they have 5 more beers. I'm pretty sure I went out and beat a professional team that night with my squad. And, even this summer, I'm in Tri-City. Your boy's not married anymore, fellas. I didn't cry about it all summer like some of these other guys did. And I'm talking, professional people are like telling people their business and their situation. Well, maybe I'm just so fucking good at dealing with rejection that shit didn't really faze me. I had to accept internally that, like, look, man, life goes on, and I'm in this fucking playoff run with Tri-City, and this is what I need to do. I need to spend quality time with my dog and try to prove to everybody that I know that I'm supposed to be here. That's all. The only time I ever really tried to prove anything was last season. I got to decide whether we made the playoffs or not in Tri-City. I got to decide every fucking game, and I chose to make it. And I don't think any other people are going to have influence on the game like that, the way that I was able to have influence on the game, and even be in my own mind thinking about the things I was thinking about, thinking about my life and being able to do the game at the same time and completely slow the game down and own the game while all this other shit was going on. And you would never know it was going on, and nobody would ever know what's going on, because I am a cold-hearted, stone-cold bastard. And you don't get anywhere without having some of that. So... other people would have cried and packed it up and went home and had a bunch of, bullshit about it. And I really just, another day in the life of a gangster. And I mean, if this was the Wild Wild West, I wouldn't even be here right now. That's how I always like to think about it. If it was the Wild Wild West and everybody was rolling around with a gun on their hip, what would really be said? What would really be? How would we really take care of our bodies? How would we really talk to coaches? How would we really deal with rejection? Probably way differently. And I think people are just too emotional. I think people are too up in their own shit, because what they're reading every day and what they have up their ass every day is that you're supposed to be, which is cool, and yes, be in touch with yourself and all that, but how much time are you really spending alone? How much time are you really, dealing with the things that you need to be dealing with? And I think that's the issue. That's the issue with rejection. That's why guys play 5 minutes. I was lucky to play 20 years of like playing to win. The only times I played to sign, I sucked. It was not good. I didn't sign, The times that I just played my ass off to win, I signed and got what I wanted. I didn't even realize it was what I wanted. And so, the last thing I'll leave you guys with is the how to interact with coaches. That was the last question. We have, the tenacity and how to deal with the rejection of not getting a job, the how to handle how to become a pro, how to keep your body in shape, but how to interact with coaches. And I can keep it simple. It's as needed, for a reason, and be a human. These dudes, you're not human, and it's because of the Black Mirror. Again, everything, hi, coach, hey, text message, fire emoji, like LOL, LFMAO, all this bullshit, like fucking grow up, fellas. You're not even human. And then as needed, bother them, blow them up for no reason. It might get you a job with them. But constantly hitting someone up that's not interested in you. You've heard about, it's all about the right time and place. Well, that's very true. And for a reason. If you're hitting them up all the time and you're like, hey, I'm in the area, yeah, but I mean, if they have a need on their roster, or you saw something change, or there's a series coming up and you have advice on the pitcher they're going to face or something, bring some value, bring something to the table. Everything is just like for no reason, and hey, I'm another guy that went to college and I deserve an opportunity in affiliated ball. Call me 201. It's like, what are you talking about, man? And so they're hearing the same thing from you. It's just the same thing over and over and over, and you don't really have a way to connect. And that's one of the things that I'm able to bring, and that's why I like going to this Pioneer League tryout that we're going to go to, the Frontier League draft, and all these different things. I can actually tell the story of the player, not just like, hey, here's a guy that went and wasted his time in the Pecos League for 2 years, and you just signed him because he went to a tryout. He couldn't stay healthy. Good luck. That's not our guy's story. Our stories are like, they win championships, they're growing as ball players, they're changing positions, they are getting better. Here's the numbers, here's the homers, here's the doubles, here's the velo, here's the pitching. And the story of what the guys go through along the way should be the reason that they get the opportunity, but maybe they're not, because these coaches and these other guys, they're also in the trap of the Black Mirror. Maybe it's just one big Black Mirror trap and nobody really wants to work anymore. That is why they're signing players that are signing up for online apps to get signed. I can't wait to track all those guys and see how they do and what kind of numbers they put up and how long they last. And then when they retire, they'll probably get a video like the guy in Florence did, oh, he retired. Dude, the guy didn't even play 2 full professional seasons. What the fuck are we talking about, And look what it's done to everybody. You get 150 at-bats and now you're retiring. You're quitting professional baseball. That's what you're doing. You're not retiring. And then people are making a big deal about it, just like validating the Croc batting cage videos. It's all the same shit, It's just everyone's been dumbed down to this weak-minded, just soft physique. And so, I think that's why guys are asking these questions, how to be tenacious, how to deal with rejection, how to be a pro, how to deal with coaches, how to keep in shape. These are never never questions that I had to ask in my professional career. In 20 years, I never had to ask how to deal with rejection. I never had to ask how to be a pro. I never had to ask how to get in contact with coaches and how to talk to them, and I never had to ask how to keep my body in shape. So for these to be the questions that a lot of guys are asking me shows me that it's time to remove that phone from your anus and get outside, because these are not just the questions from one person. These are the questions from several people. And I felt like they needed to be, they needed to be embraced today a little bit. And I'm not going to give you hey, walk backwards and take the stairs. And yeah, no shit. Those are ways to stay in shape. Yeah, and stop door dashing. Maybe run the food from ShopRite to the dude's apartment. In the snow or something. I don't know. But really happy to answer them, and that's what I was hoping people would ask and start asking, so we can get more detailed with what we're talking about. But this is a great video for how to handle rejection, how to be a pro, how to interact with coaches, how to keep in shape, and how to deal with when you're not getting jobs. And again, having a good plan 3, 4, 5 years in advance would be a good idea. If you can't see what you're going to be doing in 3, 4, 5 years, then don't do this, because it's hard and it sucks. You got to really love it. And with that, we'll leave it to Dave. It was nice chatting with you. If you're on the YouTube page, you can send a subscription, whatever it is that you call it, and get on it. Drop some comments, drop some knowledge. I don't know, say what's up to the LA Beast. Something fun, if you have it in you.